Hey there, James.
Greetings, sir. We are live. Sorry for the
Peace,
the
peace, peace,
non.
peace, everyone.
Sorry for the promptness of it, but oh man, yeah. But we're live. I'm gonna play a little clip and then we gonna get at it.
No problem.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. Our flags unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We have fought in every clime and place where we could take a gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands and in sunny tropic seas, you will find us always on the job, the United States Marine. Here's health to you and to our corps, which we are proud to serve. In many a strife we fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's seas, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines.
Greetings to everyone. I hope that you all can hear me loud and clear. We're back again. Didn't think I'd be doing this two nights in a row, but
Season's
there's
greetings
some
from
things.
the
Oh, let
helpful
me start with
Honda.
this thing. There are some things that need to be cleared up. There's some things that need to be handled. There's some things that need to be addressed. So I thought I'd play that Marine theme song because it's very befitting, and people may have heard it, they may not have heard it, but it's interesting to note the things that they say and the declarations that they make, and even in the statement from greetings, brother Thomas, and Thomas, and even from the opening uh, stanza where it mentions from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. So we're gonna touch on a little bit this this evening or tonight. I promise you again, I won't keep you long because I'm looking forward to the Grand Rising show. It's gonna get you early enough to where you can get your day started and get your day started off right. So I want to say greetings to those on the panel, brother Thomas, and Thomas, and Bones, aka Cobb. So you can unmute yourself. To those in the chat that are coming in, you'll see Oak Cliff Tiff came up. She slid in the home plate pretty early. I know there's some other things going on, so I won't keep you all. But just looking at that theme song or the Marine Corps hymn, United States Marine Corps hymn, it's interesting when they say from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, knowing where Montezuma is, where the halls of Montezuma is, they have no jurisdiction there, and where Tripoli is, they have no jurisdiction there, or do they? But as we start looking and breaking this down tonight, you'll have a better understanding or a better example as to why they took on this particular theme and why it is probably overlooked by most, and even those that may have been in the Marine Corps. I've never really even paid attention to what's been going on as to why this is being overlooked. But again, we're going to get into this a little bit this evening. Uh, as you can tell by the title, it says the land of death, which is rest in maize. This land here is known as the Americas today, including North, Central, or Mesoamerica, and South America. So at one point, it was known as, and still is, to those that are in touch with their Maya heritage, that it is the land of death, not in the death of sense that there is an end, but there is death as meaning the resurrection, as in you plant a seed in the ground, it dies, and then it brings forth fruit. The seed cannot bring forth fruit unless it dies. So that's what it means. And then the corn rows, what we still call today, was in reference to the rows of corn, because that is being the source of life, not only for the Americas, but you'll find out all over the world. So don't let people fool you into thinking that when they say things came from other places to here, you're going to find out more often than not that it was literally the other way around, the reverse. That Gabrielle Union up in here. By the time you showed up early. But yeah, you're gonna actually see as to how these things come into being. And I hear a lot of arguments that are so-called debates, but they're actually arguments over who's here and who's first, who came first, chicken or the egg, who's African, who's not. And the Africans did this all over the world, and then some say they did, and then they can't do it, and then they say they did it again. They said it was these people here and there, and then you start getting into, you know, DNA results and all the rest of this stuff. But you have to put it to where the rubber meets the road, and you don't hear too many of us in this so-called conscious community mention anything about horticulture, agriculture, none of that. They don't mention any of that. They just go and talk about they found a you know a piece of a jawbone, and then, oh, this is what they look like. Okay, but y'all go ahead and do that stuff if y'all want to. Y'all go ahead and still try to do that fifth element stuff, because remember they found a portion or a section of uh, her body, and then they resurrected her or recreated her in that machine or whatever, based upon a little piece that was still left of her. But anyway, uh, we gonna really just go jump in as we left off, mentioning about the Tuto Shield, or again as they say in Asia, shoot. But it's the same thing of being the rest of the place of rest, and not just a place of rest. The video that I put on, he was leaning up, he was leaning against a tree to rest, but it was a rest, saying the eternal rest or the land of the ancient ones. And when I was putting a piece together about understanding who Ambrosio Tut was, that he just wasn't this lowly gum sapper, but you understand of who he was and what he was by his title or his job description, as well as his name. Who are these people? Who were these people? What were these people? And we still want to, when I say we, I'm saying we as academia still have a hard time. We have a disdain for who we are, that we will overlook the obvious and get snagged on something that is minuscule. Yeah, I'll give an example. We get snagged on how many so-called slave ships came to the Americas. And I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying don't get caught up in that, because the reason why you're able to rise above it, because you're never going to be able to convince anyone and go say, yeah, they came up with about 20 million. All you have to do is go to the mural of Bonaparte, and I've already done videos on that in the temples. The people that are saying we all came over here on slave ships would have to start there and explain why is this mural, all four walls going up into the ceiling, are all paintings of people that look like me and you. So either one or two things happen. Either it was people that were there that were not people that looked like us, had a vivid imagination and decided, hey, I'm not going to paint someone that looks like me in a leadership position. I'm going to paint a people that I've never seen before and describe them to a T, but I've never seen them before. Or, again, here's another choice. They had a magic time machine that Europeans brought Africans over here, then went back in a magic time machine, dropped some Africans off, left some Africans in the past, like Back to the Future, and then came back to their present day. And the people that were there in the Americas were so shook that they saw these people with Negroid features. So, I mean, those are two options you could have. Because again, once you talk about the murals of Bonaparte, the game is over. Because we're talking thousands of years before Columbus. Then you can fast forward a couple of millennia from there, then you get to the Vikings. So who were these Vikings fighting? Who were these Vikings describing? Because they were not your Native American slash Mongoloids. Because you don't get swarthy Europeans out of that. You don't get swarthy Pete out of that. It's impossible. So we really have to get to where the rubber meets the road. Anyone that comes in and they start their history again at 1492, you have a 2-minute warning and you are already down 70 points. It's 70-0 with 2 minutes remaining in the game. Don't come talking to me starting your history at 1492 when we already know things were done long before 1492. So tonight, I'm going to put all heads to bed on this subject matter, and we can go on to dealing with Indian history, the 400 series. Because at 1492, that was history class 101. That's when you first came into school as a freshman, fresh meat. You didn't know anything. And then you just came in and they said, okay, here's the basic, this is the core class that you need to move on to the other series, the 200 series, 300 series, and etc. Greetings, President James E. Gilmore. And Joe, all the things your man won't do. Lil Yost back up in this camp. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you have any questions, please uh, stop me in any moment. But I wanted to say this. I really appreciate you all actually tuning in. I don't do a lot of promoting. I don't try to do a lot of hoopla or any of that. It's just about for me to get the information out. Because I've even discovered over the years, and I've literally been on YouTube for 12 years. And I put videos out there that I did 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago and never thought anything of it. And I look at the numbers, I'm like, wow, people are actually watching. So I don't look at where the numbers are today. I look at the getting the information out there. And that's the vital part is getting the information out there. Oh, Copper Chopper style. Chopper style. Brother Kerry Bay, the carpenter. But those are the things that I look at. Is it something that someone can actually click on and learn something from and take information of helping them to know more about who they are. So, with that being said, we're going to jump right in. And if someone, either Brother Bones or Brother Thomas, if you could click on that first link. I know we went on it last night, but to click on that first link, because then it's going to take us back in order to where we were before and actually get us going in this series here. So if someone could put that in the chat and people could just read along, um, as to where we are, because it's really gonna break down and have some understanding of where we need to be. But before we get into that, I want to give those on the panel an opportunity to you know speak to those in the chat or anything they like to touch on today's events or this evening's event. So I'm going to mute myself and allow you all to come to the mic. And our same freedom, y'all can jump in at any time. It's like, hopscotch and double dutch. Get in where you fit in. I yield the mic.
Oh, peace to everybody out there. Peace, 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 TMH. Appreciate it again, James, for doing this and inviting us to the panel. No, just mainly looking forward to it. Because again, it's much needed information that put a lot of this same old rhetoric to bed. And if people choose not to take the information and use it and apply it, well, basically they let you know where they stand.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat, peace to everybody.
Brother Thomas, you coming in a
Who
little
was able
low.
to join us this evening, considering the multitude of entertainment or forms of entertainment you could have been participating in. So I'm excited because I get to listen to somebody that has been there, done that, got a T-shirt, and then ready to share the information. So with that, I relinquish the mic and say thank you, Dudu.
All right, appreciate you, gentlemen. And again, anybody want to jump in, unless you're a part of that, I'm not even going to say it. You know who you are. So don't come in under any aliases, think you're going to kick in the door, because it's not going to happen. But when we talk about the Tutu Q and what they did and who they are and understanding, again, this is why I kind of chuckle when I hear people say, "Oh, these people came over here and they were African and they came over and took over the people in the land," as if the people of the Americas were so docile and so primitive that they wouldn't defend themselves. So they just die any and everybody just to take them over. But then all of a sudden, these people became fighters when they were fighting against the fire sticks, aka the guns. Millennia later, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. They allow all these foreign people to come in thousands of years ago and just start ruling them. But then when it came to the European and they're fighting against guns and they decided, hey, we're gonna stand up and fight. Really? Y'all believe that? Okay. All right. And I apologize for not having the screen up and all that. I'll get all of that fancy part as we go on uh, a little later in the series. Well, I don't want to say series, but I say a little later in the presentation. But when I talked about the Tutus U or the Mani or Mani and who they were, being a Maya chieftain in the central Yucatan Peninsula with the capital of Mani before the arrival of Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century. But they try to tell you that the Tutus Sioux were only there like, 1400s. That's not the case. Because, like I say again, as we talked about last night, the same article tells you that they're saying, wait a minute, we're finding more monuments and writings that show them here as being earlier than that. So, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna deviate just a little bit. I saw that Gabriel, you had a question. Which set of Vikings were doing the most traveling and exploring to all the different land masses? The Vikings, like I say, were not really they were a loose knit group of individuals in the Nordic region. And the boats that they sail, and kind of, I touched on this before, the boats that they were using, this shows you that the Vikings were taught by the Itza and the people over here in the Americas. They were taught by the Itza. They were also taught by the Micmac. Certain words in the language, Tinkara's up in the camp. Certain words in the language you'll find are Micmac words. And then you'll also find the Viking ships are exact replicas of the Itza ships or the Chantal Maya. That is Chontal and then Maya. They're the exact ships. And then when you're getting into the longhouses that the Vikings built, again, they forgot to put enough airways and chimneys and they were smoking themselves out like they were trying to smoke bacon, trying to make Canadian bacon up in that camp.
Cough, cough.
They forgot about that part. So that shows you they mimic from the American Indians. Because American Indians had log houses and they didn't have that issue because they had perfect ventilation. You'll also find out about the Vikings were taught by the what's known as the American Indian because of the iron ore that they used that you find only in the Americas. You heard all the other Europeans and all the other Asians, and yes, some Africans, North Africans that the Vikings fought. We're talking about their armor and their swords. And they could not penetrate these Viking swords, these Viking armor. They got the iron ore from the Americas. Europeans started finding out about that later because when you go to the city of Detroit, what was Detroit known for? Cars, automobiles. Still, go ahead, brother Bones. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just about to say manufacturing, basically.
So as you can see, it was the same process. They only nothing was discovered by Europeans over here. It was stacked upon stacked upon stacked upon stacks. Like you hear people talking about New York City, but they never go underground. When they go down to the subway, it's a whole city. And then when you go underneath the subway, there's another layer of a city. And you go beneath that, there is another layer. There are
Yeah, they used
multiple
to have a
layers.
show. They used to have a show that used to show you all the underground cities of America.
Yes, sir. You see how they stopped doing that because people started figuring out, well, wait a minute.
If you got 2, 3 different cities up under the present day city, hold on. That mean there were people here longer than what they telling you.
Because then it makes you wonder, you have to start asking who built these cities. So now that's where you start getting into the uh-oh. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. So all of these things, that's why they don't mention the Vikings. They'll say, oh, Eric the Red and Leif Erikson, and they came over here to the Americas and Vikings disappeared. And they don't tell you the details, again, that you'll find in Mesoamerica, you'll find in the Yucatan, in these temples, where it shows you that they shackled the Vikings, tied them up with their hands behind their back, putting them back on ships and getting them up out of here. But that's why you hear the stories of some of the Vikings came over here and they just flat out disappeared. Okay, y'all can believe that if you want to as well. But again, that's why I advise anyone go to Chichen Itza. Please go. Please go to Takao. Please go to these places and you will see for yourselves. It is vital that we see for ourselves. So This is where I am right now. Is we have to start telling our story because no one else can tell our story like we can. So I want to get back. I hope I answered your question, Gabrielle Union. I know you probably got some more questions. But I wanted to make sure to answer that question so we're all on the same page, so we're all take off and land at the same time. That's the crazy thing that people try to get these tickets on these planes in business class and first class and all the rest of it. I'm like, put me in economy. Because the great thing about it is whether you're in the front of the plane, middle of the plane, or the back of the plane, you all take off and land at the same time. And some of us haven't figured that out yet. So I wanted to get back into the Tutu Giu. And we talked about it a little bit last night of saying that they were forcing the Itzas out of Chichen Itza. And like I said, but they're not telling you, they're not really trying to tell you who the Itzas are. Knowing again there were two different groups of people that were Itzas that we know as Isa today, or Catawba Suponi being one branch, but you'll find them all over the southeast of what we call the United States in every port city all along the rivers. Why? Because we're going to talk about that. Maybe we'll get into that tonight. I don't know, or maybe next time. That we're going to talk about that these were the dragons of the waterways, or known as the iguana. These were your iguanas. And when you go down there to Mesoamerica, you're going to find these giant iguanas. And that's why they were calling them the dragons, which is why on their ships they had the replicas of the iguanas. You'll also find the iguanas uh, known as the group of people known as the Yuwani. You can look up the Yuwani and it'll say caterpillar, but it wasn't caterpillar. It's iguanas. That was their zoomorphic type, was iguanas, not caterpillars. Who would be afraid of a caterpillar? Come on, son. Anyway, I wanted to get into um, the organization of who they were and what they were establishing. So now, when you look at the mural of Bonaparte again, you're going to recognize, you're going to recognize who these people are. That they're not just people that say, "Oh, the people that look like us." But you hopefully throughout the course of this series or presentations, you'll be able to know by the headgear the people they were representing. And it hasn't changed, and you're going to see the familiarity. You're going to see in the temple to where you have the two that are standing facing another five. The two that are standing, that the five others are bringing tribute to, and they're all holding their staffs, all holding their sticks. They have on the jaguar skins, and you'll see them with their jaguar skins, and you will discover who they are by their headgear. Once I start breaking down the headgear, it's going to make sense, and then you're going to find out who these people are currently in what we call the Americas. It's still in Mesoamerica and South America. So they had established, and I'm here, I'm kind of in the middle with this organization. For those that have the link, you can click on the link where it talks about the organization and what they had on the Batab. In each Batab, they had it broken down into seven. These seven chiefs, these seven heads, these seven rulers. Because you're gonna find out. I say I'll go back on one of these series. I'll go back and I'll talk about uh, the four, and out of the four came the seven. Well, now we're at the seven, where we're dealing with the jaguar people, the cat people, that you will find their symbolism all over the world. And yes, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, what we know as the Sphinx was the symbol of the cat people. The Sphinx were not built by all these other groups that commissions try to say built. No, they didn't. It was there thousands of years even before the pyramids. But I'll get into later who built the pyramids because they put their signature on there to let you know who it was that built the pyramids. But the Sphinx had been the base of the Sphinx had been underwater for millennia. It already been built. And you will find the same waves and the same water erosion on the Sphinx. You'll find that all throughout Utah. You'll find that in what we call the panhandle of Texas and in Oklahoma and Palo Duro. You go to Palo Duro Canyon, it's the same water erosion, which is why the Mayas, which are still are your Olmec, your Uli, your Alabama, had already written about the Great Flood that was all over the world. So how can you write about a great flood if you weren't there to see the Great Flood? So anybody again that's talking Choctaw and talking about oh we've been here, no, that land that you know along the Gulf was flooded. So they left and they came back. Thus spawns the name of Baton Rouge because they came back with the red sticks. And you're going to find out again that those, because remember the Chickasaw and the Choctaw were one people until they had their civil war. They were one people. You're going to find out the Choctaw or the Chickasaw being one people are dealing with this Chichen Itza. Same group of people that you're going to start finding out. And they try to give you this name to my, oh, this is what Chichen means. No, it does not. I broke that down on the previous video that I posted. There's a method to my madness. And I broke down why they are trying to tell you this is what Chichen Itza is, but it is not. Like I say, even in our language, certain things are being said that nobody really understands why it was happening. Why? That's why I put the Kanye song in there that I got dinged for, but they didn't flag me because I don't monetize. I'll never monetize my YouTube channels. But I put it in there because I knew I was gonna get a ding anyway. But he's breaking it down. He's calling his grandmother Chick. Hey Chick. I'm at a loss for words of what I say at this time. Remember when I was 9? Chick. And I know a lot of people that call their grannies Chick, but they don't understand where it comes from. It comes back from that same land of Chichen Itza. So if you don't have an opportunity, you can check out the video that I posted and who these people are and understanding who the Chiku, I guess that was the end of Michael Jackson channeling Chiku. So when you understand who these people are, or the Shiku, same folk. So when you start hearing seeing Chata and Chickasaw and Chijimacha and all the rest of these Chi and all the names, this is where it comes from. It's the source. Even dealing with the she, or as they say in Asia again, the shu, the rest. And the rest still gets back to the rest. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but I'm gonna go back. Deals with the rest of the great mother. When as a baby they fidgety and the mama can't do anything with them, and the dad is frustrated because he's tired of yelling, the baby just cry, and your granny says, "Well, give me that baby." All of a sudden, the way she snuggles that baby, bam, knocked out. It is something about the rest of the great mother. So again, I say anyone that is not talking the language of the great mother. Now, I'm not going to go as far and say everything because I already put it out there. I put it out there before when I talked about scams, scammers, and skanks. Every woman is not a great mother. So I'm going to stop that right now. So everybody's thinking that, oh, man, do you think that as a female you can just talk crazy to any and everybody? And no, sorry, not here. Sorry. That's not happening. That you talk any crazy any kind of way and expecting anybody to say anything back to you, and then you, me too, me too. You can't talk to me that way. Sorry, didn't mean to get on my soapbox there, but I'm going to go back. I digress. But getting back to who these people are and who they were. So when you get an opportunity, so we're gonna talk about what else they call themselves, the Mani or Mani, and the importance of knowing who these people are and breaking down who these people are. Now, if someone either Brother Thomas Jones, if you all could put that second link in the chat, and then you'll see, and we're gonna have a better understanding who these people are, why they did what they did, and we're gonna get now. I'm gonna put all heads to bed when you hear these people saying that the people that came over here, these cat people, Jaguar people, were West African. We're gonna end that tonight. And anybody else that said talking about being West African after tonight, then you just don't want to know. So we're gonna get into that. This link here is gonna tell you about the Mani or the Mani. And it talks about the land, and it's a small city in the Mani municipality of central region of the Yucatan Peninsula in the Mexican state of Yucatan. And it talks about the dimensions and all that. But then getting to the history, and I hope y'all are with me. When you get to the history, it talks about Mani's 4 millennium. I don't think anybody heard me on that. It says Mani's 4 millennium existence historically involves mostly its early Maya period, not late Maya period, early Maya period. And we know millennia is what? Millennia is 1,000 years. But then earlier, when you were reading about the Tutu Jew, they try to tell you, oh, it was only a couple of 100 years, a few 100 years. So we already busted them and they lie. The Mani have been here. They talk about 4,000, at least 4 millennium. They've been here. And it says early history. Mani has been continuously occupied approximately 4,000 years in the post-classic Mesoamerican era. It was home to the Tutuziu Maya dynasty, and they moved their capital from Yaxmo in the 13th century. Now, here's the problem. Europeans didn't get over here as we know. We know Europeans came over here earlier, but the Europeans that are talking about they're writing all this stuff down, documenting all this stuff, could not come before 1492. So how do they have such intricate details on what happened prior to 1492? That's why I said if you start in your history, American history, Indian history, at 1492, you got the 2 minute warning. You've lost the game. You might as well literally get in your car and pack it up and go on home. Because the game is over. The game is over. And we're going to get into where the Spaniards are talking about all the books that they destroyed over here in the Americas, in particular Mesoamerica. So how is it that these primitive beings had all these books that the Spanish destroyed? Somebody help me out. How could they destroy all these books that they say they destroyed if they were primitive people and didn't know their hand from their foot? And we already talked about that on the Cab Grand Rising show, even just discussing the Natchez. And they talk about how the Natchez were building these 45 cities and how the author that was going around following them was like, ooh, well, they go back further than what we thought. We thought this was The Natchez, oh, we contributed to the Mexicans. The Mexicans said, no, there was an earlier group that built all these things. We didn't build these things. We just dwelling in them. You need to go back and look at that. Just look at that episode. So these are things that have already been discussed. And that's why I said I don't like rehashing the same arguments with the same people, the same monkey men that want to teach you that you come from monkeys. You know why they push that? Because I'm going to tell you why they push it. That's why I clicked the label and said this is not appropriate for kids. They do that because they don't want to admit it to you, but it is what it is. Because the same ones that are promoting evolution are the same ones promoting homosexuality. Why? Because those apes that they say we came from are homosexual, bisexual, and trisexual. You look that up on your own. But don't get mad at me if you get dinged if the people kick in the door and talk about you got some material on your laptop or on your phone. But you look it up yourself. That's why they promoting it. They won't tell you that, but you heard it here. So let me go back to our regular scheduled program. But they've been here at least 4,000 years. And it says here, the money served as the main religious center in honor of the deity Kukulkan. And we really, I hope we can do it tonight, can break down who Kukulkan is and how some people tell you to don't read certain books, but if you know how to decode the book, if you know where you are in these books, then you'll have a better understanding. That's just like if you're trying to cook food, but you don't tell, if you have an infant child, you don't tell them food in the oven. Why? They're not ready. So when some people say, oh, don't read that book, don't read the book, don't read that book. And it's a shame that you sitting there and you 35 and you still don't know how to turn on the stove. You still don't know how to open a door. Gabrielle Union, you got to catch up. Talking about what monkeys? Gabrielle Union, have you not studied the Out of Africa theory, which leads you to evolution? That say we came from apes. Matter of fact, on this same channel, you can look at my videos. I was breaking down Tricky Dicky Dawkins and the encounter that I had with the whole 289 members of a certain squad, talking about evolution. And I crunched their cookie because, again, when I asked the question, if they're saying that man is 1.7 million years old, according to evolution, but bonobos and chimps are 8 million years old. And if our if they're sitting here and they're saying that we come or we're cousins to the chimp and the bonobos, then that means something had to goose a chimp to make man. Because chimps are our older cousins. So in order for you to be related, someone in your family had to goose someone to make you. Does that make sense? If you have an older cousin, and y'all are cousins, related, somebody in your that's blood related to your cousin had to goose somebody, your mom, your dad, something to create you. So whether
Mm.
it's your cousin's dad and your dad are brothers, or his dad, mother, sister, whatever the combination of the two, but someone had to goose something to make man. Something had to goose a chimp to make man. So where is this man bear pig that goosed this chimp to make man? It's real simple. That you don't have to have any other argument with an evolutionist anymore. Just go look at the videos that I did with Tricky Dicky when he had his little chart and try to say this, and I'm asking questions, and that squad got mad. Next thing you know, I was placed on their show for 2 nights in a row, 3 hours each. Me against all of them. The simpleton that I am. And I know nothing. But I know that. I know if I have an older cousin somewhere down the line, and I do have older cousins, all of us should have older cousins. If you don't, something wrong. So somebody that's related to your cousin had to goose somebody to make you, or something to make you. So what goose that chimp to make that man? If the man by life science, that's the website they're using, life science. So by life science, man is only almost 2 million years old, but chimps and bonobos are 8 million years old. So you figure it out. Yep, 2 nights. It was almost it was almost to the point of the new edition miniseries. 3 hours, 2 nights, 100, and that's when all of them were still on board. This wasn't with the split with the other group now that's trying to be whatever they want to be and claiming that they American African whatever they want to call themselves. This was the whole group of them. All of them were taking their turns trying to come at James Flames, talk Jimmy. All of them. Like I said, I took the clips. They probably took it down off their channel, but I took the clips. So if you go ahead, you can scroll through videos and you'll find it. You'll see the leader of their crew and the thumb on the thumb. But anyway, back to our regular schedule program. You did it. You did it again, Gabrielle Union.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. And this might sound funny, but it's not meant to be funny. If we evolve from primates, monkeys, chimpanzees, why are there still monkeys and chimpanzees on the planet then?
They could never answer that question. I asked that same question.
And why we didn't go to bed one night with a chimpanzee in the zoo and woke up and it was a human being?
I'll give you one better. I've never seen a woman push out a chimp. Because somewhere down the line, you're gonna digress, or you're not.
Yeah, you would have it. Genetic defects, yes, possible. If you want to use their theory,
I'm still waiting for that. They say, hey, it's just a crapshoot. So I'm waiting on a woman to push out a zebra, giraffe, elephant. I'm waiting on that day. I am waiting for a woman to literally push out a miniature elephant. Let me see how that works. I don't think it's happening. I'm gonna say this to you, Gabrielle. You just got to go back and watch the just watch my videos. If you watch my videos, you'll see. Oh man! But I want to get back to to this. I don't know if those are the following link when I talk about history, and then the second paragraph of history is early history, and it talks about Kukulkan being Quetzalcoatl and what Kukulkan actually means, and hopefully we'll get in that tonight. But here's the kicker: are y'all with me on the third paragraph when it says Maya book burning
oh, I've been saying waiting for that part.
in 1562? But if these primitive people over here, again, that had to be taught how to be civilized, what are they doing with books? What are they doing
So,
with books?
and
On
they got
July the 12th. Go ahead, brother Bone. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and they would have to be in paper form because you ain't burning no stone tablets.
Well, I hope we can get to it tonight. It was so outrageous. Spaniards were upset with the Maya, saying they were wasting paper. Yeah, they said they were. I'll send the link a little later. They said they were wasting paper. They were writing so much and had their children writing so much that they were wasting paper. So and everyone, and I heard someone talk about before who's claiming to be an Indian, but he's not. He's a Pan Africanist. When he says, "Oh, well, when was the printing press and the printing press?" And I'm gonna talk about the printing press. But long before the printing press, you sit here again, and they said, "Hey, on July 12th, 1562, Friar Diego de Landa, who held the office of Inquisitor before the monastery of San Miguel Archangel." I'm just going to skip down a little bit. And I'm going to go to the part where he says, Manning, the ceremony in Manning, burning a number of Mayan. I'm not even going to read the number. You go, brother, they're not going to believe me. Can you read the number of what he said about the
No.
books, the reported idols?
It goes, Manny burning a number of Maya hieroglyphic books and reported 5,000 idols, saying they were works of the devil. The number of books burnt is disputed, but the Ladina claimed only burning 27. This act and numerous incidents of torture at the monastery were used to speed the mass adoption of Roman Catholicism throughout the region.
Wait a minute. He didn't say 27 pages, did he?
No,
Did he say 27 pamphlets?
no.
Okay. 27 books.
At least we know at least 27.
At least, and call them the works of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to get in to understand why the Maya still to this day do the dance of the Diablo. Because they call us Kissenbosch, which means black devils. And then they say about the black devils, they said, oh, women had no problem marrying these black devils. Why didn't they have a problem marrying these black devils? Because they were still doing the same thing, which is why you will see a lighter copper skinned woman marrying a darker copper skinned man. Go look at pictures of your granddad and your grandmama. Somebody, it looked like before and after. It looked like a negative and then when it was processed. Because I know that's what my maternal grandparents looked like. My granddad, you close his eyes, he disappeared. And my grandmother could pass. And no, she wasn't white. She had no European. When they already got to be Europe. No. So what's going on? Same thing with my paternal grandparents. Granddad the same way. Close his eyes. Where did he go? So this is nothing new for us. And when you actually see the dance of the devil, it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, it actually looks like a Greek step show. And I hate to use that word because it's oxymoron. But when you go to the step shows and then you watch the not that dance of the devil that the Polish people do down there with that pom 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 pom. No, that's not us. I'm talking about when they breaking down from the Guerrero and they're breaking it down in Oaxaca, and you see that dance, and when they're doing that dance and doing that chant, if you didn't know any better, if you just close your eyes and listen to how they you would swear you saw the Omegas come in and the Alphas coming in right behind them. That's our step. That's why it hasn't changed. And even the those that are Hispanic down there will say it's something about their music. It's something about the way they move within their soul. So why would you be worshiping the devil? Because Catholicism has taught you what your culture is as evil. But then in that same book, they tell you to honor the ancestors. When the one that they call Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Christos, when he tells you honor your father and mother that your days may be long. He wasn't talking about just your father and mother. He was talking about the fathers and mothers. Their fathers, and their mothers. That's why you can't understand the books, because you don't understand what took place in history. You don't understand where you are. But they use the same symbol for Kukulkan because they never changed the symbol, and they put Kukulkan up on the cross, which is why you see more people in Latin lands that are Catholic than those that stay in Rome, in Italy, because it's Kukulkan. And Kukulkan name means the one God ruler. So the people long before Columbus were talking about all these other deities leading up to the one true God. I say again, you can't be an Indios, the people or the children of God, and be an atheist. And I hope we don't have any atheists in the building, because I'm sorry to cut your cookie. So you have to find another name to call yourself. That's all I'm saying. You got to find something else to call yourself, because Kukulkan was around long before anyone that they called Jesus the Christ. And all they did was whitewash Kukulkan. But if you see the old paintings and drawings of Kukulkan, Kukulkan look like the majority of the people in this chat. And when you talk to the Jaguar people, the Jaguar elders and wise ones, when you talk to the true Maya, they'll tell you they keep whitewashing. They keep whitewashing. Talk to the Guerrero, talk to the Oaxaca, talk to the Zapatas when you go down there. Again, don't go down there as an African American. Go down there and tell them, don't just say, oh, I'm an Indian. Because you're going to have to say, you're going to have to break down not only what tribe you're from, what nation you're from, you're going to break down the clan that you're from. So, as Brother Tom in the chat, genealogy is key. You're going to have to do your genealogy, because they're not going to tell you anything until you know who you are. What clan are you from? As your grannies used to tell, because I know my granny told me, who are your people? Who are your folk? When people would come over to the house and they want to do, oh, get on James Flames, I'm here to, who are your people, baby? Do I know you? Do I know your people? So they're not going to give you any answers if you don't know who you are. If you stumbling, bumbling, and fumbling, in the words of Chris Berman on ESPN, you stumbling, bumbling, rumbling, fumbling on who you are, they're not going to give you any answers. Again, they're going to give you the $2 tour and tell you to have a seat. Take plenty of seats right over there. We'll be back with you. And you'll still be sitting there 3 days later saying, oh, he said he was going to come back. And not coming back. Not coming back. Why? Because they're like, okay, this is
So hold on,
unimportant.
James.
This
Quick
is somebody.
question.
Go ahead, Brother Thomas. Go ahead.
So they just can't get away with saying I'm Choctaw or Arawak. They got to be able to break down their claim and tie exactly who their people are. They just can't just say some generic name and think that's gonna fly. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying, sir. If you don't know who you are, and on the list of names, aka surnames, if you don't tie in to who you are on those names, you get nothing. You get nowhere. You can offer them a drink, they will take your strong drink, and they'll say they'll be right back. They're going to the I go restroom, and they will leave you there at the bar by yourself. So you go ahead and think that you're gonna keep. You just go, oh man, I gave them money. That means nothing to them. That means absolutely nothing to them. Why would they worry about your money when they living off the land? truly living off the land. So no, you will get absolutely nothing. You will get the regular tour like all the other gringos when they go over there. That's all you're gonna get. They're gonna tell you, hey, this is the cow over there, and this is this. And then when you go down the road and the road ends and you have to walk down the trail and you'll go the way of the guato. And like I said, guato is nothing but the howling monkeys, the screeching monkeys. And when you go to the cow, when you go to Chichen Itza, you're gonna think that it's something out of a horror movie. When I tell you those monkeys are loud, they are loud. So when they try to give you whatever name Guatemala means, it doesn't mean that. It means land of the howling monkeys. That's why there's the monkey temple there. At the very top, there's the monkey temple, because those are the howling monkeys. So when someone's saying Guato, that's all they're saying. You're from the place of the howling monkeys. So that's a little snippet, so y'all know when I say Guato. But anyway, but yeah, you get by the time you get absolutely nothing. It will literally be a dead end. It's like the books we had back in the day with the Dungeons and Dragons, where it said, "Oh, you do this, you turn to page 12. You do this, you turn to page 62, and then all of a sudden you make the wrong turn, and it says, turn to page 78. Oh, you're dead." And then you get mad and try to start all over. Maybe you can come back again, disguise yourself, draw a fake mustache on you or something, dye your hair a different color and try it again, in a few months, because you're not gonna get anything on that trip. Nothing. You'll go to the Mexico City Museum. You'll stop at their library. You'll read a couple of books. They'll tell you to translate it because most of it in Spanish. They'll tell you a little something, and those are the curators that are there. But you won't get to speak to a true Maya elder or wise one. You won't. They'll just sit there and look at you, and they'll be like, me no English, me no English, no. You speak Spanish? That's all they say. They be like, no, don't speak Spanish. You get absolutely nothing. I'm telling you. So you go ahead and try it. And those that get to me, I've been down there, and they African. Well, they didn't talk to any Mayans. And matter of fact, they didn't talk to anybody. Period. They just looked at those stone heads and said they were African. All they keep showing you are the stone heads, but they don't show you the stones that are chiseled in with the full body, not just the heads, the full body and the beards. That's the kicker. Those that went working at the hospital had beards. It's gonna put all heads to bed. I already had this discussion before when people keep talking about, oh, these Africans, Africans, Africans. Again, go look at anybody in the Pacific. If you want to talk about anybody that's closely related to us, we are more closely related to those in the Pacific because we are the same people than those that are in West Africa. Because I'm telling you, you get somebody from Fiji, and you put them beside somebody that's here, that's an American Indian, you won't even be able to tell who's who. But you put me or anybody else beside most West Africans, and you can tell. If you look, you can tell. Especially when they put that curly from Globetrotters headband on with a button down shirt. Come on, son. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there tonight. But I wanted to bring that out. I wanted to bring that out on the books. How can you burn or destroy books that never existed? Because they told you, oh, they had no written language. Because I say and I say and I say and I say again, there are 5 elements to a civilization. So all these people, all of these in academia that claim, oh, I know all this and tell you all this out of Africa stuff, but they don't break down that West Africa they didn't have a written language. So therefore, how are you gonna call them a civilization? Uh-oh. The people out there were speaking Vai. They were writing Vai, which came during the time of the American Colonization Society. Uh-oh. Prior to that, they wasn't writing down Dum Dum Diddy. Uh-oh. So that's marked out as a civilization. But this shows you here tonight, they had books, and he thought he destroyed a lot of books. There were a lot of books that he didn't destroy. There were a lot of things down there that are still chiseled in stone. And when you go down there and you see the aqueducts and you actually talk to the elders down there, and if you're fortunate enough that they'll share some information with you, you'll be amazed. They still have the writings. And that's why I just got a notification. All right. I think we got kicked off for a little bit. If you all can still hear me, just let me know by putting a one. I just got a notification on my system that we got dropped for a little bit. Hold on. We should be back on the air though. All right, yeah, we're back. I apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. That was on my end. I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna figure it out. But as I was saying, uh, that you get absolutely nothing, and that's why I say the importance of doing your genealogy. It's fine to do shows and presentations when you're talking in generalities. That's fine. Do things in general. But then there's some things you have to be very specific about. And if you're talking about knowing who you are, you have to be very specific because people will keep trying to convince you that you're somebody else. You won't find me talking to anybody that says if you African, be the best African you can be. I'm telling you, I will help you. I will drop water on your hair every day till it just sucks it up and turns into beady beads. I'll do that for you. If you want to be West African, knock yourself out. But don't try to make me something that I know that I am not. And that's the crazy part. And that's why I say, that's why certain individuals stay away from me. Because when I start breaking down who these families are, because these families, again, are your tribes, who these clans are, because your clan gets back to your immediate family, but most importantly, it gets back to your responsibility. What was your job function? What was your MOS, as we know in the military? Because everybody that wears the BDUs, what we call the camouflage, the civilians call camouflage, called BDUs, battle dress uniform. Everybody in the BDUs didn't have the same function. I was a medic. Somebody else could be a gunner. Someone else was a cook. Someone else was support. But we all wore the same color or the same style uniform. Everybody go, oh, I'm Indian, I'm Indian, I'm Indian. What was your MOS? What was your job? Everybody had a job. So what was your people's job? Remember, as was broken down before a couple of months ago on the Cab Grand Rising show, where it talks about we only work 52 days a year. Why? Because everybody knew their job and they got it done efficiently and effectively. Now nobody knows their job. Everybody wants to be a chief. Everybody wants to sit up with their feet up on the porch all day. Nobody wants to do their job. What was your clan's responsibility? And once you figure that out, you don't have a problem with staying in your lane. But they're not telling you that everybody, oh, all that was us, all that was us. What was your responsibility? If me as a medic, if someone was wounded out there in the field, we're at war, and I'm walking around talking about I got a spatula in my hand talking about I'm a chef. People dying, but I'm talking about I can scramble you some eggs, doc. I can scramble you some eggs, doc.
I drink water.
Yeah, I'm a medic. I wasn't a chef. Oh, you got somebody coming to say I ran out of ammo. Oh, I'm supply. I'm supply. I don't even know what I don't even know where they keep the ammunition. But I'm telling you, I'm supply. I can supply you with all the ammo that you need. You got people that are working somewhere and it's not their responsibility. That's where it gets back again. Just like in a family, people have certain responsibility. Not saying one is better than the other, but everyone had a responsibility. When I was growing up, my youngest brother's responsibility, he was the human remote control. Go turn the TV. Everybody had a responsibility. So where is the responsibility and accountability coming from? Come on. I can't stress that enough. So anyway, I apologize. Sometimes, like I say, I get on my soapbox. I got to put me by my coattail.
No, no problem. I was just looking at the next part where we was reading that. We got
Go ahead.
Lindale's.
You go ahead and read that for me. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
No problem. It said Lindale's burning of these sacred books with Mayan writing and the subsequent reaction were described by him as follows. We found a large number of books in these characters, and as they contained nothing in which were not to be seen as superstition and lies of the devil, we burned them all, which the Maya regretted to an amazing degree, and which caused them much affliction. This is the thing that I kept looking at it the whole time. If they can't read the Mayan writings, what do they know what it's saying? And how do they know what it's saying?
Bingo.
You just saying it's the work of the devil. You can't even read it.
And
Seems to me that it's more like coming in and destroying their way of life, their culture, to replace it or to attempt to replace it.
that's exactly what they were doing. And I'm going to show you above and beyond. This is why I said about knowing your culture. You have certain cultures that will put their elders in retirement homes, nursing homes at 55. They spend their money. We're the only ones that mama will stay with us, grandma will stay with us, and if great grandmama is still here on this side, she will stay with us. And say, you're not going in a nursing home. These writings were the writings of our ancestors, which is why, again, you have the Day of the Dead. What is the Day of the Dead? The Day of the Dead is still dealing with honoring our ancestors. We're the only ones that get upset. We will get into a fight. So many fights over somebody said something about my mama. No other group of people they don't do that. They say somebody, okay, yeah, she is. You call other coaches mama a B word, yeah, she is. Yeah, I do that every day. She is. And you go over somebody's house and when they were kids in the teen, I'm like, whoa, how do you talk to your mama like that and still living? You still walking around, Mom, give me something to drink. It's hot in here. And I'm like, dude, what bills you paying? I'm out of here. Cause I feel bad. I felt bad for his mama. That's not even my mama talking
I
crazy
know
like
not in
that.
my household. You be trying to find your teeth, all 32 of them.
Hey man, like my grandma said, I will knock you in the next week. You wake up and be payday next week. Come on, son. So that when you study, that's why was putting those videos out about the Day of the Dead. It is honoring the ancestors. And I gotta say this because I'm so tired of people using this. If I hear another person talk about hoodoo being West African, I'm going to catch the bus. I'm not going to fly. I'm going to spend that money flying on you. I'm going to catch the bus and we're going to go live. This is going to put all heads to bed. I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it one time. Papa Legba has what in his mouth? Anybody?
That happened to be a pipe, a corn pipe.
A corn pipe. And what's in that corn pipe? Tobacco. So you see him
Uh-oh.
with a corn pipe, or later on you'll see him with a cigar. Tobacco. Where's tobacco grown? Where's tobacco from?
America.
Any West African tobacco? Okay, that's all. And like I said, his face is painted again, just like they do when you go to Mexico for the Day of the Dead. or any other Latin lands. You don't have to go too far. Come here to Texas. You see it every year. You look at the movie Coco, the little cartoon animated movie Coco. The Day of the Dead. It is honoring the ancestors. We always talk about honoring. And I would say, when you hear people talk, the main ones talk about honoring the ancestors are the ones that are doing the most dishonorable thing because they don't know or they don't want you to know. Burning of the books, he decided, hey, they're of the devil. Why do you think the Maya? Now, don't think it's Maya, somebody else. Why do you think they were so upset? They were so upset because they were saying these were the writings of telling us who we are. These were the chronicles of who we are. And I keep going back to referencing this book because I'm not telling you to go to reference the book for you to actually go and do all the rest of that and people talk about because see people take it off the deep end. I'm using it as an example, not as a source. I'm using something in the book as an example. Do you notice in whether you religious, I don't say religious, whether you say you're a Christian or not, that's neither here nor there. I'm just using it as an example. Do you notice when it says, oh, when the Messiah came and he was such and such begat such and such begat such and such begat such and such begat such and such. Do you know what that means? That was genealogy to prove who you were. It's like I said, these knuckleheads keep talking about, oh no, he ain't gonna do that. He's gonna take your DNA test. You're gonna take your DNA test. You get DNA test and you say, but the DNA test doesn't say what we're gonna get into. I'm sorry, I know I've been keeping up long. But I'm glad, Brother Bones, that you saw it. Man, he's going and talking about the books that he burned and being the books of the devil. Like I say, they cry. It hurt them. I don't even say they cried. They lamented over what they did of the burning, destroying of these books. That's why they talking about, oh, we can't understand this and we don't understand that and we don't know who's this and know who's that. That's why I said fast forward from what he did in 1862 and then fast forward to what happened in the mid 1800s with Ambrosio Tut. Ambrosio Tut knew who he was because it was passed down to him by the wise ones and the elders. And guess what? Ambrosio Tut still had some of those books. Like I say, they destroyed a lot of books, but a lot of books weren't destroyed because the Zapatas hid them. They're still all in the jungle, and then people pop up and they be like, "Oh, this is," and like I say again, what no scribble scrabble in the dirt. These were writings on paper. On paper. Do
I
not
say
have them. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
they would have to be if you burnt them. That's all I'm saying. It got to be paper. You burning them?
You, because I check, you can't burn stone, can you?
That's some new stone we don't know about.
Hey, romance in the stone, like I say, I don't know, but I've never seen it. I've never seen a stone burning. I've seen a lot of book burnings, but I've never seen any stone burnings. So I just wanted to get, like I said, to really get into that so those that can have the links, because I don't want anyone to say, because I don't want anyone to have to be charged or Patreon account or PayPal account to get this information because the information is out there. It's free, but it goes on to talk about the different festivals and all of that. But if we can go to, and we may have to come back again and touch on that, man, because that's like I said, people don't understand how vital that what happened on that date, specifically on that date, to let you know that there was an organized civilization, and it gets back to the seven. And I'm gonna say this before I forget, because I hope that Gabrielle Union is still in the chat and listening, because that seven that was breaking down the Batab gets back to your swarthy Pete and the seven merchants that those in the Nordic region are paying tribute to, that people of color like us get upset. Oh, they in blackface. They in blackface. Not understanding swarthy Pete. They're paying tribute to your people. The seven merchants. Take seven MCs, put them in a line, rock them. I'm not even gonna go there. Yeah, the next thing, as you see, what breaks down and it's talking about Chichen Itza. Remember, the battle was over Chichen Itza. As we talked about before, the Tutu that says, hey, they were battling with the so-called Itza that we know wasn't the Itza because the Itza were actually selling the seven seas. And like I say again, you can read on your own about the Chantal Maya, aka the Itza, on how they were decapitating, slitting the throats of those that were in the temple that weren't supposed to be there because they understood the importance of the temple. And when you understand that Chitzen is not whatever they told you it was, it's dealing with the chick, the great mother, is the temple, great mother of the Itza, the mother of the seven seas, the mother of the waters. That's her house. Think about it. What you say about my mama? That was her house. They disrespected the great mother's house. I hope everyone is still with me. That's why Chichen Itza, even to this day, it is so important as a place to go and visit. Because once you do and you have an understanding, because those elders and wise ones are still standing around. And I separate elders from wise ones for this reason. Is today and someone asked me some months back, was it offensive to me? And I say no, because I have an understanding. I don't, like I say, I don't get caught up in uh, uh, the minutia of it all. And someone saying elder, they're not using a gender with it. I do because specifically the female, the great mother was called the elder, and the male was called the wise one or the Lero. So when you put that together, you have the Chiclero or Chiclero, you having the great mother and or the elder and the wise one, which is why I break down again the Ambrosio Tut, what do they call him? Because when you go down there and they say someone is just rambling on, and I do that sometimes now, I guess as I'm getting up in age, but they talk about, oh, he just keep talking, they repeating themselves. How can you sit there and talk? And they would talk for hours. And again, I give a shout out to Phoenix Moon and understanding that she allowed the elder Chief Warhorse to talk. Sometimes it's best for us to just shut up and listen. And you can say on and on and on as you're young. Oh man, they just keep talking on and on and on. But they're trying to get you to understand. I'm not going to always be here. I'm trying to give you jewels to live by and to share with your children and to share with your community. So that's the
And
process. When you respect your elders and know who your elders are, know who your wise ones are, because that's what it means. You look it up. You look up a Lero or Lero, and it tells you. Go, I'm sorry, brother Tom,
so I got 2 points. Point number one, about letting the elders speak. And one of the best quotes that I've ever heard coming from an elder, it basically speaks, and you can understand this because your education background. Teaching is repetition until learning takes place. So you're going to find yourself as a teacher, as an educator, as an instructor, continually repeating yourself until the lesson is learned. So as you grow older, you're going to repeat yourself because you can understand that by talking to younger people, their attention span is short. So you're going to have to repeat yourself. That's number 1 point. Number 2 point, you mentioned about the Chichen Itza actually taking out the imposters, the impersonators of the elders. So you mean to tell me that as Indians, we policed ourselves and we didn't play this role of, well, I'm just here for the information, and I'm just gonna be neutral. So you trying to say that Chichen Itza didn't play neutral? If they saw somebody not doing what they were supposed to, not following Indian codes, they took them out. Is that what I'm understanding?
yes, sir. So much so that they had the blades on their thumbs. They was slicing their throats. They were beheading them. They sliced their throats, just like I say, you see the movie The Grudge, and you hear that, because that windpipe is gone, it's crushed. That's what the true Itza were doing to those imposter priests that were in the temple, because they understood, you have desecrated my mother's house. You are an abomination before man and before God. You need to be wiped off the face of the earth. They didn't ask any questions. They went in there and cleaned house, cleaned it up. So anybody that's sitting back and like, oh yeah, well I'm just gonna wait it out. I'm an investigator. I'm anti-private eye. You in my mama's house without my permission, and I know my mother didn't give you permission. You got to go. I'm not sitting here waiting for the cops to come or let's sit down and negotiate, talk about it. You've got to go. And that's where the battle started again. Because you read up again where the Tutu Chiu had said, okay, with this different group, they call them a different name on the sources in Wikipedia, but they actually are the Toltec. And they said, okay, we'll call a truce. But when the Tolteca tried to walk up in Chichen Itza again, it started the war all over again. You don't have to believe me. Click on the links and you'll start to see how all these names, they changed the names in there because Europeans will give us, oh, now you kick a poo, you stinky poo. All the rest of these different names that they give, and you'll find out these are the same people. But it started it up again. It's like, why are you still trying to come into the mother's house? You're disrespectful. You are a foreigner. And you'll find out the Toltecas were foreigners. You'll start to find out who's who. You don't let somebody come up in your house like that to take over. Come on. And that's why the Itza came by sea, clean house, and the Tutu Chiu came by land and clean house. And it wasn't until the conquistadors came and that harlot, whose name I can't mention, betrayed us, is when the Toltec took over. That's when you see the shift. Because the conquistadors had cannons. If it had been a straight up fight, today we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have that issue.
No, no, no.
It was cannons. Because if you keep reading all before when the Spaniards, they kept all those Iberians kept coming over here, they were sending them back. They were like, we can't deal with them. Read about when they came up into Florida. How the Appalachia, how it talks about the cat people. They would say they were literally sicking mountain lions on them when they tried to come into Florida. They were sicking alligators on them when they came into Florida. Read it for yourself. Read about all of the rebellions that were going on in the Caribbean. Those Spaniards wasn't running dumb diddy.
Nope.
It didn't happen again until that great harlot, and she did what she did, and they came with the cannons. And then they start getting the burning of the books. And then they use our symbol of Kukulkan, and they walking around, and you'll find out this same symbol that the people in the Philippines knew the symbol of Kukulkan. Uh-oh. We done got almost as far away from West Africa as we could. That's why I said start looking in the Pacific and you'll find the people again that look just like us, same build, same fro, same mannerisms, same celebrations, same fraternity stomps. It's the same thing, same people. That's why the Spaniards called everything from the Americas to the far Pacific getting into Asia as Negro land. That wasn't by accident.
And it's funny that if you research, you'll come to find out we are more genetically related to Pacific Islanders than we are to how they try to put us in Africa. We match each other more than we match Africans. Only thing we match with Africans is skin color.
That's it. And so, sorry to crunch people's cookies, but those in the land known as Oceania or Australia and all over in there on African. Even when you get to the Andamanese, which is about as close to Africa as you could get, and you look at the people there that have been isolated, and they did their quote unquote DNA test. And they were like, oh, not African. But they look African, they act African. So that goes to show you about DNA. I'm not going to get on that.
But no, I'm glad you said that though, because these Australians who have been isolated, no contact and mixing with no one. It's kind of interesting that they match our genetic markers though. Them in the Pacific Islanders and us, we have the same genetic markers. Very interesting when you dig into it.
And you get all around that way and you'll discover, oh, just remind me, I've got to uh, send you that book where it talks about there were a group that they brought to Cuba by ship, and they were calling them Africans. And come to find out, they weren't Africans, and they were saying where they were from. They were from the land that we know today as Easter Island. They talk about, oh, they abandoned Easter Island. No, there were people there. The Europeans took them and brought them to the Americas. And they talked about how they had the statues with eyes. And you look up Tekla. It is TLALOC. I'll say it again. TLALOC. Look up that deity, the big-eyed, bug-eyed deity, and you'll find him chiseled in caves in Georgia. How did Tekla get in Georgia? That's why they keep talking about, oh, Mayan ruins in Georgia. Mayan ruins in Georgia. How did they get there? The
Oh
Mayans
yeah,
were disappeared.
the ones that they locked out, even kicked the History Channel out.
Yes,
Don't let
sir.
nobody see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Those bug eyes. That's why I gave the example about these. Today, you'll find this group of people. And like I said, my maternal great granddad was the same, the dark and bug eyes. That you know them, you know this the tribe group of people known today as Alabama Cushata. That a group of them live in East Texas today. Folks ain't gone anywhere. They just got renamed. They haven't gone anywhere. So how do these people over there in Easter Island know about Tekla? What are they doing? Had to be the same folk when you agree. Oh man. But I like I say, just looking at dealing with how you find out how they start doing certain things. Now I'm gonna go to the name of dealing with the Mayan name that they say it came from Chichen Itza. That means at the mouth of the well of Itza. Nah, it does not. Now I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm gonna get into something else. If I said not for kids, I'll try to keep it at least PG. The mouth of the whale is where the majority of us, unless the mothers had a cesarean, we came out through that canal, which is why I put in there the statue of even the great mother, which was his grandmother or great grandmother, and had the child, and she had the child in between her legs. This is long before your Virgin Mary, long before your Hathor and Isis and all the rest of that stuff that people try to tell you about. This is long before that. Find out who the people of Chichen Itza are. And the city slickers that are there can't explain it, but that's what it means. Now I'm going to break down, and you can look at it for yourself. Everyone's arguing. Oh, what in there? And Turtle Island, and this is what it means. I'm gonna tell you what. How can I put this? Turtle Island, the Turtle Island, by today's standards, it means something very vulgar. If you just look up the turtle dance again, doing the same dance of the devil, you'll find the turtle dance. They do it all, it's all part of the one thing. And the young ladies put this contraption around them that looks like it's like like those dresses that they would wear in like during the classical period where it's all big. It's like a big tent around their waist, and
Mm-hmm.
they would take and it's a little slit that they would put in there, and they would take a stick through that hole or a broomstick. And they come through that hole and they walk through the parade and start just kind of poking people with that stick. But the outer big dress, the shell, was colored as a green, or brown, like a turtle, like a turtle's head coming out of the shell is representing the male genitalia. That's what Turtle Island means. Go and do the research for yourself. So anybody talking about having an argument on what Turtle Island and what it was called and this and that, again, you had the turtle coming out of its shell, like it does. You watch the turtle's head come out of the shell. It means the same thing, dealing with the male. So
Uh-oh.
you can look up that for yourself. So now you're understanding the concept of the Great Mother and Turtle Island. So anyone that wants to get someone dealing representing Turtle Island or anything else, we can have that conversation. That's why I said it's important when you start doing genealogy, you start finding out the roots of these words, you start finding out how they anglicize these words, you start finding out how they anglicize the names of these tribes, how they move them around. But again, in the process, we still didn't lose our culture. You hear certain people out of New York that keep talking about, oh, these were African cultures, and I can show y'all through the South. There are no African cultures here. There were no African because they keep talking about the drums. Those drums were totally different. The rhythm, like I say, the rhythm is totally different. Show me a West African hip hop artist. Where are they? The best MCs, the greatest MCs that I've ever heard have ties to the Caribbean. You better recognize everybody.
Bingo.
Because everybody, oh, Biggie, what? You better listen to his mama talk.
Ties to the Caribbean.
Everybody, Nicki Stank, Cardi
Ties to
B,
the Caribbean. Ties to the Caribbean.
R.I.P. Heavy D, one of my favorites.
Ties, and more ties.
Cool Herc, come on, son.
Really?
KRS-One. I can keep going on and on and on. Just about all of them from the Wu-Tang. I can keep going on. So I'm still waiting on that West African to break out. Somebody help me, because I really want to know. But anyway, go back to the lesson. I apologize. I sincerely apologize. But when they talk about the Chichen Itza again, and this is where it's going again. Put all heads to bed. Where it talks about being that Itza is the enchanter or the enchantment of waters from its sorcerer and ha water. Yes, they are correct. The enchanters of the waters, your Maya, your Naga Maya, but you'll hear all throughout all these other regions where they talk about the Naga and they talk about the Maya, and it all ties back to the same thing. So how is that happening? Oh man, we got to get to the. I got to rush to get to the part. But I wanted to see that Maya goes back to the same thing all over the world. How does that happen? That means the people from the original land had to take this culture and concept to a foreign land. And they didn't just stop by and visit, they set up shop there. Greetings, Mrs. Robinson. Hey, hey, hey. Y'all telling my age now. Y'all know about that old classic. That was that old British invasion. That's to you, Mrs. Robinson. but anyway, but we're talking about dealing with this Chichen Itza and who the people are. I already told you of dealing with Chick. Chick is the great mother. Chick. Like I said, y'all thought Kanye West was crazy, and he may be, or maybe I'm just crazy because I understand. Hey, Chick, I'm at a loss for words. And he talks about, if you go down any further, where it talks about the evidence in Shillim Balaam, is that Balaam again, that's the four. We'll talk about that at a later day because that's really going to get deep and you'll find out who's who. It says, books, it said, in the evidence of Shillim Balaam, books indicates another earlier name for this city prior to the arrival of the Itzas, of the Itza. But then it breaks down, go down and talks about the seven great house, seven bushy places. Oh man, I talked about that. I already talked about the turtle. I'm not going to get into that again. Seven great rulers, seven lines of Abno, 7779311. Now go look again at Swarthy Pete at the seven merchants with broad nose and thick lips. Come on, son. And they keep talking about these being Africans. They were not Africans because the merchants were from here that went the seven seas, the seven rulers that you'll find in Bonham Park. Go look at the murals of Bonham Park. You'll see the seven, your seven merchants that went over into the Nordic regions. And I already, if you watch my video, I already put a video up dealing with Ready for the World and Swarthy Pete. And they found out, they was like, oh, an American Indian came over here and she was queen of here of the Vikings. How does that happen? How does that happen? Hmm? When you get into dealing with Swarthy Pete, they talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Those seven dwarfs are your seven merchants, but they were children. They were children. And you have people say, oh, their faces were black because of the coal of the chimneys and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, well, why wasn't Santa Claus? Why wasn't he black? At least why wasn't his beard black? See, they keep trying to play us. They keep trying to play us. Because you tell me that they get coal on their face, but then it turns their hair curly. Go look at those videos on Swarthy Pete when they celebrate over there. And it's not anything racist. It is what it is. They are describing the merchants. They're describing Swarthy Pete. Swarthy, we know that means black or dark. So why are we upset? But anyway, back like I said, seven. So now you understand more by Sinbad and the seven seas, and why they keep talking about the seven seas, why the Greeks talk about the Sea of Kronos, which is the Sea of Time, because we were the timekeepers. Which is why when you see the Mayan calendar, they call the Mayan calendar, it's actually the Ule or the Olmec calendar, with his tongue sticking out, meaning he's talking. His tongue is sticking out. And he's got a broad nose and thick lips. And if you look at the original what they call the Mayan calendar, they try to chisel his nose out. Look that up for yourself. Wonder why they did that. But anyway, it goes on and it breaks down the political organization, the economy, and the whole nine. That's why when I say again, I'm not just talking to say that we show these people, we gave them government. Someone could, and I'm gonna wrap this up, get on the next link, because this is gonna break down, like I say again, we won't be on it long, on how they switched Kukulkan to Jesus the Christ. They got us. They got us. You're right, Tinkar. That's the mother church in Peru. Didn't J Electronica try to tell you? Listen to Exhibit C. Let's do it one more time. And he tells you, like I grew up in the shrines in Peru. Listen to what he's telling you. And Jay-Z killed his career. But that's another subject for another time. Because J Electronica was never meant to go commercial. After he did that Sprite commercial, he was done. They ain't heard from J Electronica anymore.
Yep.
Because he started talking too much on the commercial level. Listen to Exhibit C again. Listen to what he's saying. You either build or destroy where you come from. He's breaking it down. Listen to that. I listen to that over and over and over. Over and over. But the top down. Listen to J Electronica. That's your homework. Where it talks about the Honub, a cool, Chiku. Like I say again, when you're looking at the Chiku, like I put on the video, you're dealing with the great mother and the child, the golden boy, the golden child, sweet Brother Nupsi. And he's breaking down what it is in this book. And you're going to see they took the culture and the concept of Kukulkan that was already here and morphed Jesus the Christ into that. That's why you start seeing some of the things in these books later on when they rewrote the collection of books to be called the Bible. And it's like, wait a minute, why does it have different like cultural stuff that's in dealing with the Maya? Again, when they said that the people came into the temple, and like I said, it became the great abomination in the temple, going into Chichen Itza. Look at that again. But again, you can look for yourself and understand what "ku" means. Like I said, you spell it, it's Ku or Koo, same thing. And then understand what it means again in Chinese. That's very important. And like I said, you're dealing with the same people. And this is where a lot of Afrocentrics get caught up because they say again, oh, well, the Shi people, and we know about the Shi dynasty, and again, the Shiu, they'll tell you it started over here. There's another group again out of the four, where it said the four came where the four corners meet in Peru. That is the place where the four corners meet. That there were a group called the Shiu that went over into Asia. And hopefully one of these days I'll be able to break down the four and I can tell you the directions that they went because there was an order in which they went. And once you know that order, you'll have a better understanding on what was built and how it was built. But the wise ones and the elders tell you the first stop of the four corners of the seven stars that they talk about, the energies from the seven stars of what we know as Orion's belt. But the seven stars, the Sith stars, started here in the Americas, then went to Egypt. That is why you will see the Egyptians will tell you they didn't come from that area. And there's a group of people that will try to tell you that it was a certain dynasty that they call the foreigners, but then they say that these foreigners were Canaanites. But weren't Canaanites supposed to be cousins to the people? You gonna tell me you don't know who your cousins are, and they literally a stone's throw away?
Hmm.
But you don't know who they are, but you calling them foreigners. So you're gonna find out who these foreigners. I'm not talking about the Ptolemy, the ones that came from the north. I'm talking about it's a group of people that you'll find out and you're going to see the connection. And that's why I said it's important to deal with the names. And there are people more intelligent than I that have drawn that same conclusion and have shown dealing with the cultures of who these people are. And that these people came from the Americas. And they were the ones that helped to build the pyramids over there because their names are written in the stone in red ochre. Thanks, Dr. Mayat. That's when she was on the casting couch. But she never said the names. And I kept begging. I said, say the name. Say the name. She said, they're gangs. Gangs? Really? It's gangs of New York? This is Crips and Bloods going on here. Gangs? Built the pyramids? Gangs? Really? Okay. Didn't want to say the names because had you said the names, it would have tied you back to the names of the original tribes of what they say Maya, which are actually the Uli of the Americas. And it would have been crossover, slam dunk, game over. They want to give you that information. I hope we're still live in the chat. I hope we didn't die or anything. I know the chat stopped. I don't know. Everybody's like pondering, reading the link, trying to see what's going on. But don't touch that link with your bare hands because it just came hot off the grill. But I want to get to where the rubber meets the road. Oh, here's the good part. And man, we can't put it in the chat. But it breaks down because I wanted to put all heads to bed. Oh, we can put the link. If someone could put the link just before the picture that I put in the back chat. And perhaps I'll do a post later and put the snap, the screenshot of what I took of this particular piece that was written. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, Brother Bone. To where it breaks down, and this is going to put heads to bed because they keep talking about again that the Mandi people came over here and they were the cat people of of civilizing the Americas. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And I'm gonna show you how it's wrong. Because even in the Mandi, even in their oral tradition, oral myth, again, a myth is not something that is untrue. It is a truth that is wrapped around an exaggeration for you to remember it. And I'm going to read this article by MD W. Jeffries. It's called Maize, and the Mandi Myth. It says the Mandi or Mali or Malay or Mandingo are people occupying what has been called the Buckle of Niger, have a beautiful and complex creation myth that includes the appearance of Maize and its eastward migration with them down the Niger to Lake Debo. I need to say that again. It says that the Mandi or Mali or Mali or Mandigo are people occupying what has been called the Buckle of Niger have a beautiful and complex creation myth that includes the appearance of Maize and its eastward migration with them down the Niger to Lake Debo. This was long before they said, oh, the Portuguese brought Maize back. No, this was long before. And we all know that maize originated here in the Americas. And it says they went east. But if you leave the Americas, after you get outside of the islands, when you get from Mesoamerica and South America, and you get out of the Carib, what is the next landmass you bump into? The continent known as Africa, West Africa. So I'm tired of people sitting here saying that these were people from Mali, and you look at the Songhai Empire, and like I said, by which but no sell out was there timelines, man, timelines. Maize was at least they traced it back to 8,000 years ago. And we know in Egyptian writings, they talk about the storehouses that had maize in them. People try to say wheat. Wheat doesn't last that long. Wheat becomes molded really quick and it's poisonous. Uh-oh, did I put the chat to sleep? Is anybody out there? Breaker 19? Because the chat stopped on my end. Is it still going? Everybody asleep? Everybody go night night? Oh man. And it breaks down about this particular myth, and it says Lake Debo itself, an extension of Niger, and it goes on that Seligman in 1939 to 466 noted is what he said about the Mendigo, the Mandi, and he talks about the description and the coordinates of where the river is. But then the last part he says the Mandi have a creation myth still celebrated every 7 years with a ritual of which the recital of the myth is a part in which the arrival of Maize plays a prominent part. Who brought it over there? Because here's the kicker. Here is the kicker. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Show me the evidence of West African ships. This is where you can catch these Pan-Africanists every time. Show me any evidence of the West African ships. I've shown evidence of Indian ships, American Indian ships, aka Maya, aka Uli ships with the Itza. Again, they were the ones that helped the Vikings build their ships, which is why on the front, on either side, you see the dragon's head. I go back again, the Chantal Maya, Chontalmaya. Chantal Maya. Look up their ships. Not little rowboats, ships. Show me the West African ships. But we know that maize, aka corn, made it to West Africa long before the Portuguese, because there was no such group of people. And they telling you that they came from the people of maize. So your Mandigo is your Mani that I already showed you before. So why is it that when you talk to these Pan-Africanists to try to make everybody West African, why isn't it showing up in their DNA any ties to over here? When we know, I just gave you an example, and I didn't even talk about this was ancient time. This wasn't even dealing. I didn't even got to the American colonization time period yet. So we know without a shadow of a doubt, long before the American colonization, long before the conquistadors, long before 1492, the Mani, which are known today as Mandingo, Mali, Mandi, today went over there with the help of the Itza ships because the Mani didn't build ships. Remember, I told you everybody had their jobs and took maize over there. All you gotta do is look up the Mandi creation myth for yourself. That's their creation story. Talking about maize, my aids. Not my story, their story. That it came from the west and went east. What is west of West Africa? The Americas. In the words of that infamous thespian, Too Short, I ain't tripping no more. That's why you do not hear these Afrocentrics, Pan Africanists, RBG, mosquito skin shoe wearing group of people ever say anything about horticulture or agriculture because it will put all heads to bed. And going out to on the Pacific side, all you got to do is say pineapple. That's a wrap. And you look at, again, breaking down the main element of the Mandi people. If you could put in that last link for me, Brother Thomas of Brother Bones, and it talks about the Mandi. This is why, again, I say Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Clyde Winters, Dr. Leo Wiener have it backwards. That is why when you hear Dr. Ivan Van Sertima say, yeah, banana is the same as banana over here, so it had to be West Africa. No, it wasn't. It was those known today as American Indians going over there, because how can you name something, right, and name it the same thing when you don't know what it is? How can you name a banana, the same word that's used over here in the Americas? How can you use gunini over there when they didn't know what gunini was? I'm just giving you something to think about. Gunini, that mixture of copper and gold, which gets back to the term of the llama. Llama, he's supposed to be dead. Now check out Emperor's New Groove and look at it with a different perspective. The kunini, gunini. These are words that you said, oh, those are Mandi words. Those are Mandi words. This come from West Africa. No, they started over here because they don't want you looking over here to find out. Maize. Now let's break it down and let's see what they're talking about. Good googly goo. Uh, the Encyclopedia Britannica talks about the Mandi people of Sierra Leone. Doesn't that keep popping up on people's DNA? I'm Sierra Leone. I'm Sierra Leone. Now, I already told you, like I said, we know one phase of going to Sierra Leone was dealing with Indians going over there on the American Colonizational Society, ACS. We know about James Monroe, Thomas Jefferson. We know the role that Paul Cuffey played. That somebody keeps, oh, after Paul Cuffey. Paul Cuffey, I'm not even going to go there tonight. I'm not going to go there tonight. I've been there before. Here are the cash crops. Some of them could be suspect and say, yeah, they got it from somewhere else. But I want you to listen because now you got the link for yourself and you can read it for yourself. And this is for the other groups. Stop taking an L from these Pan Africanists. I tell people again, I don't know everything, but stop being stubborn and not using information that those with A2 have been giving you to help bail you out. We've been giving you lifelines. And because, oh, I don't like those guys over there. I don't like those guys over there. You just steady getting punched in the face. You steady getting your kidneys knocked all out of your body. You like that song with Will Smith when he talking about, I think I could beat Mike Tyson when he said, I think my bowels release. Hit you so hard in the side. You just keep taking L's. And you don't have to keep taking those L's. I know it's quiet. I know the chat doesn't stop. But let me move on. Here are your cash crops from the Mandi. It says they grow rice, which is, kind of suspect. They have their African rice. The staple crop as well as yams. And everybody gets, oh, yeah, yams originated over here. Yo, yam/sweet potatoes, the Americas. Cassava. Uh-oh. There's no doubt with cassava originated in the Americas. How's this these West African people in Sierra Leone's cash crops today? Here's a good one. Uh-oh. Here's another one. Cocoa. Uh-oh. I hope everybody can hear me. Give me some googie eyes, a one, a hashtag, a Juan, or something. Cocoa, ginger. Here's a good one. Peanuts. What did Run DMC tell you? George Washington Carver made the peanut great. Yeah, cocoa. Their cash crops. West Africa, Sierra Leone. How are they growing these crops when West Africans knew nothing about these crops? Come on, son. How did that become their cash crop? Please tell me. Peanuts, America. Cocoa, America. Yams. Oh, yams. Please tell me. How does that happen? Palm oil and kernels, as in kernels of corn. I don't even have to say anymore. We no longer have to continue dealing with those that keep saying West Africans came over here and civilized the Americas. When I already said, all you do is keep reading about my people. They started here and went to the islands, Pacific Islands, into Asia and uh, into Northeast Africa, not West Africa. That's my people that I know, the Tutu Shiu. And like I said, the words reflect that. So when they keep saying, "Oh, those are Mandi words," I can tie back to Mandi. You're not going back farther enough, because even in their own creation story, they're telling you they started with the land of Maize, the Americas. Anybody got any question? Anybody got any comments? Anybody got any hate mail that I can read live on the air? It doesn't matter. You can't deny. How are you going to tell the people that are there about their own creation story
You know?
when they tell you it started with the red maize? So, hmm, so we know if maize is uh that was a crop that was manipulated by man. Maize didn't grow naturally; had to be manipulated by man, and that was eight
Yep.
thousand years ago. At least 8,000 years ago. No one has to be further than that, but they at least traced it back to 8,000 years ago. Now, somebody go back and tell me when the pyramids in Egypt were built. Somebody want to go? it was way shorter than 8,000 years ago. See, like I said, I'm not playing anymore. I'm not playing with these sucker MCs on both sides, claiming to be Indians, but you got Pan African tendencies. I'm not playing with you anymore. So
Uh,
go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother. Bro.
if I remember correct from reading and researching, my age comes from two different forms of grass that was manipulated to form what we know as corn. If I'm correct, isn't that a form of science?
Yes, sir, it is.
So how primitive could these people really be if they have the ability to manipulate two different crops to get a brand new one with the intention on getting a brand new one.
And feeding the whole world, which is why I say again, you go to India, Hindustan, and you'll see things, crops that they're holding in their hand from the Americas. You will find maize and you will find pine cone. You will find the same thing in Sumeria. In Egypt, you see the writings about the storehouses during the times of famine. Same tradition that you have the 7 years that the Mandingo talk about, these 7 year festivals, these 7 years that you read in a collection of books called the Bible that says dealing with your credit, that every 7 years the negative marks on your credit fall off. Where did they get this stuff from? These 7 MCs you got put in a line dealing with these seven ruling tribes of the Americas at that time. We went from 4 Balaam to the 7, better known as your Ek Ahu or Wahu or Awa, dealing with the waters. You know them better as the Jaguar people or the Cat people. And all throughout that temple, when I say again, of Bunham Park, man, they sure look like us in every shade. I don't know how that happened. How do you draw people or in all of this that you never saw and get it down to a T? I just want to know. Somebody help me figure that out. Yes, Gabrielle Union, every 7 years, your body changes. Your body makeup, your body chemistry changes. Your mentality changes every 7 years. You are correct. You don't believe me? I hope you have a photo of yourself 7 years ago and then 7 years before that, and then take a picture of what you look like today and look at it 7 years from now. You're not the same person. You don't look the same. Yep, the 7 year itch, but you better get some cream for it, Oak Cliff Tiff. Ah, they got some cream at CVS for that, Walgreens. Oh, man. But Thomas, man, did I bore you to death over there? I hope I didn't, brother.
No, man, I'm just taking in the information, enjoying it, trying not to interrupt the flow, and just watching the chat and just seeing how individuals want to do more teaching than learning, but they're not providing any sources. You know how people do. They can tell you a whole bunch, but they can't give you any sources. So I'm just waiting for some sources to drop, a link or something, not just talking. That's all. You know me, proof ain't a problem until it is. So for all y'all people quoting stuff, can you drop some sources somewhere? Give some sources or something. I'm just curious. If not, why are you posting? That's just me.
Yeah, I welcome anyone they want to join, come in, just let me know. Like I said, I'll be wrapping it up because I went a little bit longer than I expected, but there was a lot of things to cover. Still didn't even touch on. I only sent maybe a tenth of the links and things that I had in the studies, and didn't really get into the books yet, the writings yet. And that's why I say again, having an opportunity to even go down there and speaking to the elders and the wise ones, and you'll start to see how things make sense in your culture. That's why I put in the video about the chiclets. The chiclets they don't even make anymore. They stopped making them in 2016. But the chiclets, and it tells you how they got the concept of the chiclets. The man in Staten Island purchased it from Santa Anna, the Mexican general dealing with the Mexican American War, and how he took that concept because initially he was trying to make your rubber tires And you'll find out the majority of your tires today that are on your cars are made where? Mexico. It's not a coincidence. Dealing with the uli and this rubber that he was trying to initially use the sap to make put the rubber around the wooden wheels on the horse and carriages. But then he found out he's like, oh, and they chewing it too. They chewing the fruit, the chicle. Well, I put in there before. My grandmother would always in a handkerchief. She would keep peppermint, little piece of peppermint. She'd break it out, give us peppermint, and those chiclets. Not even the chiclets that they were selling that you pop out of the thing now, like they have the little trident. But it was chiclets from Mesoamerica, chiclets that she had and she kept in her handkerchief. And you chew it and it will stop your stomach from rumbling. They're saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. Like I said, I remember that as a kid. What's the question, Gabrielle Union? She said, I got a question, I got a question, I got a question. Go ahead, throw it out there. Come on now. I know there's a delay, but come on. While we waited on Gabrielle Union to type in her question. What I'm gonna do is the next time I go live, I'm not no, I'm not gonna put the link out there for everybody because I know how that's gonna go. I already know how that's gonna go because somebody is gonna try to send it to somebody, is gonna try to send it to somebody, and they're gonna come and try to sabotage. But if you have serious dialogue or feedback or even any disagreement, please let me know because I would appreciate the feedback. But like I said, there are a couple of individuals. It, they better go to someone else and allow someone else to ask their question and don't let me know. And if it's structured a certain way, if I look at the wording of it, I could tell who that person is, and I'm not going to answer it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna keep booting you to high heaven. Let's see what she said. The Choctaw sidewheel steamer made in 1853, launched in 1856 for the Navy, made in Indiana. It says made for the Choctaw tribe. Mm-hmm. Is that? I mean, it's in the form of a statement, but you put a question at the end of it. King Ramses III discovered America and built. No, King Ramses III may have come to America, but the Ramesu, which means from across the water and not on the other side of the Nile, which gets back into the 18th and 19th dynasty because they tried to divide them up, but they're one of the same people, originated here in the Americas. Because the pyramids along the Mississippi are a lot older than King Ramses III. Then that's why I say again, it's timelines. Timelines. Egyptians will tell you they didn't come from there. That's why I say again, read the stele of Hatshepsut when she had her encounter with Queen It. When she says, we thought you were dead. When he says It, Queen It being from the land of Punt, which land of Put, which they never could find. They keep talking about this Libya. But why would Hatshepsut get ships to go and get the trees of Lebanon, all this cedar, all this gold, all these treasures? Why would she have to get ships to go get that stuff? But isn't that's why I said about knowing geography too. Because Egypt and Lebanon, aren't they right next door to I mean and Libya, aren't they right next door to each other? Because they keep talking about Libya is the land of Punt. But the land of Punt
I seen it.
is the land of Phoenix. Where's the land of Phoenix? The bird that is risen from the ashes. Phoenix is here, not there. Look at the timelines of Ramses III. Ramses III, the Egyptians came over here because they knew that their ancestors were from here. That's why I say again, read the stele of the encounter between Hatshepsut and Queen It. And then you will discover that Queen It's husband originated in the Pacific Islands. He's from the Pacific Islands. Uh-oh. That's just a little homework because I'm not gonna give. I used to teach, but I never gave out my student. And I'm not saying you're a student, but I'm just using an analogy. You don't give out your student. You don't give your students all the answers. You have to let them do some research for themselves, and then that way they'll retain it. It gets back to what uh you know, Brother Thomas was saying before. Oh, I think we lost Brother Thomas. You okay? So I wanted to put that out there. And he says, and he operated in the Mississippi. That means that the tribes that the tribes were building machinery and assisting in the war and technology. Yes, that's what I was saying before. You, you, these the European and the ways of doing and how America became a great military um, on what we call the Earth. It wasn't because of what the Europeans were doing, because they were all still Europeans. So what was it about over here that they were getting and learning that made them the superpower? It gets back to the troops they were using, the inventions. I'm glad Brother Thomas could be joining us. I got scared. I thought maybe the other guys got you, snatched you up or something. So
Uh,
that's what I'm saying. You have to understand. That's why, again, when we talked about before about dealing with the Natchez and their fortifications, that the French kept shooting their cannons at them and wasn't even putting a dent in their fortifications. And you know these places today as your universities. These places were already built, already built. Matter of fact, I hope is Oak Cliff Tiff still in here if she is. Because if Oak Cliff Tiff, if you can go to Good Street, the original Good Street Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas, and you're going to see how that structure is built, the front part of it, and it looks just like your uh, college universities that I used to look back in the day. And I'm gonna tell you who built it. Who built it was my great uncle and my great great grandfather built Good Street Baptist Church, Dallas, Texas. That's a place you can get anybody from Dallas area you can go see for yourself. Those big pillars that they're talking about, the Roman pillars and all the Greek pillars and all that. No, no, nope. Levi Williams and Dr. Lacey Kirk Williams Sr. built Good Street Baptist Church, Dallas, Texas. See, oh, Cliff, you still in there? Yes. So if you get a chance to go, just stop by. Don't tell you don't have to say anything. Just say, hey, go in there and say something about Doris Eichner. Say Doris, because that's the man. They say Doris Eichner, and it's gonna go back and say Doris Eichner. That's her married name, Eichner, but she was a Williams. See, that's why I said we have been bamboozled into thinking, and like I say again, why would a group of people, Europeans, take West Africans that have built nothing to bring them over here to build something and build it to spec? How do you do that? How do you become great plumbers? That you building all the sewer lines and water lines for these cities, but you couldn't build sewer lines and water lines for West Africa? I'm just asking, putting legitimate questions out there. You said, tell you what ethnicity are they, Hakeem? Hakeem, you're a little late, but I'm gonna break it down to you like this. The Olmec, when you go to the back of the statue, like I said, but I'm gonna deal with the statues, but then I'm gonna give you some more evidence to see for yourself. What all you do is check out my videos. Look at my videos. On the back of the Olmecs, the back of their helmets, their hair is out. Their hair is braided. And then it has the clips on there. It's in 7 braids. Then they have the clips on the back. Matul, hair tied. Now, I'm going to break it down to you like this, and people are not going to like it. There's only a particular group of people who can have their hair braided like that, and it stays braided. I've seen many of Europeans go to Mexico or come to our neighborhood, get their hair braided, and the next day it's all out because their hair doesn't lock like that. You said Kenya and Egypt. You said what book do you say to read again? One I told you, I said read Chilam Balaam or Chilam Balaam. CHILAM BALAM. That's a good book. That's a good place to start. That's one. And if you have an opportunity, that's what I say again, go down there and speak to the elders. They'll tell you. And I say again, I know that Europe and Kenya were flourishing long before the Europeans. But when you have Egyptians refer to this land, and when you have Kenyans refer to this land being more ancient than they are, that's where you may have the dilemma. Because Egyptians are not Africans. They came to Africa, but they're not Africans. And when you have in Sumer, the Sumerians, they're winged gods or the winged deities with the full beards. And he's holding a bag in one hand and a pine cone in the other hand. Why? Because pine cone, burned or scented pine cone, when you wave the bag around and it's scented, keeps off the mosquitoes, which keeps away malaria. See, these are things that everybody's claiming to be scientists and all this stuff, but Afrocentric scientists but never explain because malaria is very deadly. But again, 2 cures or 2 um, um, things that would help to resist the mosquitoes which carried malaria. One, I gave you the pine cone. Pine cone is from the Americas. It originates in the Americas. 2 is the guningning. The guningning was found in South America. And when that was discovered by Europeans, because we already knew about the guningning tree, when that was discovered by Europeans, that's when they came and started ruling in Africa. They couldn't go that deep into Africa because of malaria. So if you have any more questions, Hakeem, I'm here. I'm really, I'm glad that you came and you're in here. And they keep saying look up the Olmecs, and the Olmecs again, those that are there in Mesoamerica will tell you the Maya. They're not talking about those Hispanic looking Maya. They're talking about the ones that look like that they call Guerrero, the warriors, the Chilango. See, we don't, like I said, when we talk about the Chilango, that's when we start having a real discussion. Talk about the Chilango. Go down, like I said, go down into Mexico City and say Chilango. And they're going to start talking what we call hood. Chilango. Look up the Chilena, the dance of the Chilena. Look at the Guerrero, and they may not look like what you think as a Negro teachers, but they'll tell you who their grandfathers were, who their great grandfathers were, how they learned how to play instruments, not knowing how to read music, playing the instruments, playing the drums. How when they got through fishing, they would turn over the boats and tap dance and give thanks. Yes, tap dance is an American dance. And now you see it over in Europe as that stupid river dance. But they're trying so hard to keep their rhythm, they don't move their arms. And when you watch us tap dance, look at Savion Glover. His hands are all over the place. Look at Sammy Davis Jr. when he was tap dancing. His hands were all over the place in rhythm. Tap dance, the American dance, started with the Guerrero. Dancing on when they turned the ships over, dancing on the boats, making the sound of the drums. So I'll wait. Any more questions? I'm here. Yep, Gregory Hines. Prime example. Gregory Hines. Because Gregory Hines was Savion Glover's idol. Look how they just were tap dancing with just fluidity. And you go down into Mesoamerica and they'll tell you, they say there's something about what they say over here. They say it's something about the Negros, the Negras, the Morenos, and how they dance and how they move. They just have soul. And these are coming from the city folk that have been there, not the new immigrants that have come in. Talking about those that live in the inner city that classify themselves as Hispanic. Say this about the indigenous, aboriginal, Indian, American Indian in that land. And all the songs that have been passed down to generation, and they are pretty much saying, we are the blacks of the coast. The blacks of the coast. The blacks of the coast. That's what the song, they didn't say the blacks of Africa. They don't say anything about Africa. They can trace, like I said, they can trace all the way back to dealing with instruments and the dance of the Diablo. They can do all of that. And like I said, started calling them Diablo because that's what the Catholics, the conquistadors, were calling the works. Our culture is that of the devil. You go down to Mesoamerica, they never consider what they call the devil as being evil. They call the devil as being, this is one of our ancestors. You can look that up yourself. I know it's confusing for people. I know it's confusing for them. Like, oh, wait a minute, the devil, what? Because they understood and still understand that these black, quote unquote, black devils were not evil. They were told they were evil. It was of the devil, we just read tonight, by the Catholic Church. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. But Akeem, if you have any more questions, I'll be more than happy to entertain and field those questions if you like. But if everyone else, I want to be able to wrap up because, like I said, we got the Cobb Grand Rising Show. Make sure you subscribe to A2, Conscious Assembly. Not you're gonna be lost in the sauce. Please, it is 8 East Coast time, a.m. and 7 a.m. if you're in the Central. And on the West Coast, you just have to catch the replay because I know y'all not up that early. So stop playing. Because all y'all do on the West Coast is party all night. So y'all can watch the replay. Yeah. Two different time periods. We're talking pre-colonization around the BC before Africa even turned in Africa. No, you're dealing with the Olmec. You're still dealing with, like I said, you're still dealing with before that. You're dealing with the Balaam. You still got to deal with the Balaam, which are the four. And You know what? I think I'll tackle that this coming week, and we'll because I really want to take my time with the Balaam, so you'll know who they are. Because the Balaam will tell you because they are the original timekeepers, and they're telling you. So when you hear people say that they come from the four corners of the earth, they always come from the four corners of the earth. They come to the four corners of the earth. They're talking about the land around Peru, that they all came from the four corners of the earth, and they spread abroad. And the four became seven, which means the four ruling groups became seven, which gets into again your jaguar, that group, the seven. So you in LA, Michael Brown, Harris, Cheek, and Associates. Okay, he's the only one to be up. Everybody else probably still asleep. They're probably like, man, what you laughing at so loud? Too early.
Hey James,
Yes, sir.
I want to say something about these schools of higher learning that people don't do their research on. Um, the source that you're going to want to look at is called Dark Money. The name of the book is called Dark Money. I'm going to repeat that again. The name of the book is called Dark Money. And what people fail to realize is that your archaeologists, your anthropologists, and all these individuals that are doing this research are getting their money from grants. From grants. Now, if you understand what a grant is, grants are given by organizations and the United States government. Majority of these grants is the archaeologists and these anthropologists that are supporting these out of Africa theories are from private organizations, which have an agenda. If you find out where this money is coming from, you'll find out what the agenda is. And what you'll also find out it too is that private foundations build a lot of these universities and they actually get to pick their teacher and the curriculum. Don't believe me, do your research. Because at the end of the day, all you have to do is follow the money. And your universities get endowments. Where do those endowments come from? They come from private funders. And these private funders can remain anonymous. But the organizations that they're funding and the organizations that they create tell you exactly what their agenda is. So if you ever want to know why certain scientists, why certain archaeologists, and why certain anthropologists say certain things, look at where they get their money from. It's public knowledge because they have to do their tax returns. They're employees. If you want to find out what a school curriculum is pushing, look at the recent endowments and the recent donors. They'll tell you everything you need to know. Because the thing I find very interesting is that people that push this rhetoric about the powers that be, they always cite their sources from these individuals that fund the powers that be. That's all I got to say about that. I'm done.
Yep, and you were definitely spot on. It was one jump, and I cannot find that video, and I thought that I had it on one of my thumb drives. But he was doing a presentation on the pyramids in Egypt, and he was explaining how underneath and the aqueducts, and he had a grant from Kellogg, and he was saying about how the structures, and this was back in the 80s. Uh, so when I got the video, when I ripped the video, it was all grainy and stuff because someone had uploaded it on the Google videos at that time because that was before YouTube. And he was breaking it down and saying that the aqueducts and how they were structured were those of the Americas. And he's saying, but that's not possible. But then he knew that the aqueducts here in the Americas were older than those in Egypt. But he was saying that it was the same style, so it had to be dealing with the same people.
Where'd everybody go?
Hey, they go. Oh man, I was talking and had muted myself. I think they heard me in the chat, but I don't think you heard me. I'm sorry. So that's what happened. I hit the button, but I know they can still hear me in the chat. So that, like I said, that gentleman he had a grant from Kellogg, and I cannot remember if I ever if the name would come to me, I could look him up. But all of a sudden, when he did that presentation, poof, he disappeared because it was counterproductive to what the agenda that they were trying to push, and that's why you see out of all these institutions, I'm gonna show you, but they pushing it, and you're gonna see who's behind it. You have this everything out of Africa being pushed out of the University of Chicago and NYC. And you'll see a bunch of so-called Negroes that'll tell you I went to University of Chicago. I went to NYC. I went to Long Island U. See, these are these metropolitan areas that they're pushing that everything was African. And I'm saying is, where are your structures to support this? And then for those that are trying to say if they pointing to Egypt, when you go and take your DNA test, why does Egypt not showing up in your DNA? Because you don't tell me that they pushed all of the Egyptians out into West Africa. It's always a remnant left. So why is it that you don't have any Northeast African DNA? Everything is Sierra Leone, Congo, Trinidad, you know. So I'm like, okay, nobody's paying Ghana. Nobody's paying attention to that. Nobody. But you got West Africans claiming Egypt. But then you get mad because Eminem is claiming hip hop. Come on, son. What you mad about? Why wasn't you building those structures in West Africa? And why do you have American crops as your staple crops and cash crops? Where are your great crops? West Africa. I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking shots. I guess I am taking shots at West Africa. I'm really taking shots at those that are claiming to be West African, that'll tell you that you're not Indian, but then they are rocking onks. And I always say, because here's the deal. Here's what the oxymoron is. You want an onk and talk about you West African. An ankh you see all over Egypt, but an ankh originates here in the Americas. Oh man. See, this is what I'm saying. So when you start following, this is why I say again, I tell people, and I try to share it as delicately as I can. Every now and then, when we back away from the computer and we put our books down and actually embrace our culture, start talking to family members, start talking to the wise ones, start talking to the elders, then come back and start looking at the documentaries and pick up those books. I'm telling you, things are going to make sense. It'll make a lot of sense. That's why I gave an example tonight about Chichen Itza. Why were these people, why were two different groups of people, the Tutu, Chiu, and the true Itza, why were they upset about these imposters that had set up shop in Chichen Itza, in the Great Mother's temple, in the Great Mother's house, the place where the waters flow? Yeah, and I get that, and I think Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben was saying, hey, read between those lines to find out your history. But even in the latter days of Dr. Ben, he started telling the truth. And when he had his homegoing service, who was conducting the service? It wasn't the Pan African Afrocentric group. It was the Nation of Islam. Who did he donate his library to? The Nation of Islam. He didn't leave it to anyone in New York. Y'all need to think about that. Oh man. I'm like Bobby Brown. I've been on the mic for a long, long time, and it's good to go solo. Hey, I don't know what happened to the tell where the bones go. But the Thomas and Thomas, and you still there? Did we get booted out?
He said he was in a bad area, so the call probably dropped.
Oh man, I was thinking. I hope that when I mentioned about those Mayan ruins being in Georgia, I hope that didn't trigger something. You know how trigger words start going around.
No, he good. He put in the chat that he was in a bad area.
So I apologize. I missed it because I was going off on my tangent. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up for tonight, and we'll come back again. And like I said, I appreciate you, Brother Hakeem, for stopping by. And I saw that you asked what were my points, what were my views on Israel. I see Israel. That's my view. I hope that answered your question, but probably not. Oh man. Let's just say I know about those BIE trigger words. So that's my view. I see it. I see Israel. I see it. But with that, uh, well, I guess we'll give our final thoughts. Brother Thomas, you have everything you'd like to share tonight before we shut it on down?
Question everything. Question everybody. When people just start spitting stuff and they don't give you any sources and they get mad because you asking for sources, or when you asking for sources, they make you go look them up, but they're the ones bringing information, shut them down. Because if you're going to bring me the information, you better bring me the source. Because I didn't ask for your information. When we bring you information, we bring you the source. I expect you to do the same thing. If you can't do it, then get out of my face with it. And you know me. Shots about to be fired, so pull your feet in. If I suspect you of scamming, doing anything fraudulent, or being fake to infiltrate Indians, I will march the FBI to your doorstep. Don't play with me. I got a passport. I can find you. I ain't got nothing to lose. Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat. Appreciate you always, James. Everything that you do, all the knowledge that you bring, all the information that you try to provide. Even though people don't want to listen, even though people got hidden agendas, they think they can make these declarations, push all this fake paperwork, and even people that are from other countries trying to tell people how to run stuff in the United States. I got this to say to you: bring your behind over here and show me how it's done. Don't tell me how it's done from your own borders. If you ain't got no passport to get over here, don't be telling me how to do stuff over here in the United States because you don't know. So that's all I got. I'm done.
I appreciate you, Brother Thomas. I told y'all, you don't have your constitution, bylaws in order. He's coming after you. Again, don't set up an Indian council when you have Pan Africanists sitting at the table. What sense does that make? Again, these names and these people and the wise ones and the elders, and we're finding out that the people that were already here were not as primitive as they teach you in public school. Not when they have the structures of the seven and they're telling you about the leadership and they're showing you what's going on with the leadership and how to establish government, civics, science. Again, maize is a man manipulated crop. Took some very intelligent people to do that. And that's why I say again, anyone that talks to you about West Africa, again, tonight, you have the link for yourself. The Mandika, the Mandingo, the Mendi, whatever you want to call them, told you, hey, our creation story deals with maize, the red corn, the red maize, the 7 year celebration. You'll find it in Egypt again. That's why I said when you write about all the 7 year celebration, you'll find it in the collection of books called the Bible dealing with Joseph and the Pharaoh, where he talks about 7 years of feast and the 7 years of famine and setting up the storehouses. And you got some knuckleheads try to say it's wheat. You go ahead and you put wheat in a storehouse and see if it'll last 7 years. You'll be lucky if it lasts 7 days. Matter of fact, put a loaf of bread in the storehouse and let me know if you're gonna eat it a few days later. Let me know. Let me know how that works out. If you're not getting your stomach pumped. So I say, and I say again, you don't have to take anything that I say. Test it. Go talk to some elders for yourself. And again, when you embrace your culture, you'll start to find out why these things in the book were written a certain way, why the people in these places keep talking the same thing. Why is it that those, even in Mesoamerica and South America, when you mention them about Africa, they say, I don't know. We don't know when we got here. We don't know how we got here. Perhaps you always been here. Because when they start talking about African things, no. If you want to talk about dealing with the Punta dance, it's back to the people of the land of Punt, which today you all call twerking. That's not an African move. That's Carib. That's America's. And all over the world, somebody brought people my age. Because like I said, when I looked at the Sumerian artifacts and cuneiforms and all the stuff chiseled in stone, I'm seeing them holding maize in their hand. I'm seeing them holding pine cone in their hand. I'm seeing them wear the same headgear as what's worn over here in the Americas that you'll see all in the like I say in all the temples that are over here in Mesoamerica. And again, maize is at least 8,000 years old. At least 8,000 years old. So I know China has writings about and teachings about maize. I know India definitely has. I know Sumeria has. I know Egypt has. I know now we talked about West Africa having in their own creation story. So that tells you that the West Africans, based upon that story, are not even 8,000 years old. Because if maize is 8,000 years old and they're saying they were created from the maize, so they're the new kids on the block. And we know without a doubt that structures are older than 8,000 years old in the Americas, especially along the Mississippi. Cahokia, Stone Mountain, Poverty Point, and I do know long before Qatar or Qatar that Tenochtitlan was a man-made island. Well, no West Africans doing that. I appreciate everyone in the chat. Just a few is Oak Cliff Tiff, Lil Yost, Tinkara, President James P. Gilmore. See who else was up in this camp. Trying to see, it won't let me scroll up. I don't want to leave anybody off because I don't want anybody to say that I was totally ignoring them on purpose. Let me see here. Let me go all the way. Hold on. Michael Brown, Harris, Cheek, and Associates.
Oak Cliff, Hakeem Abdul Mumin.
Yeah, I got Oak Cliff, Tiff. Oh, Joe, all the things your man won't do. Yeah. And Gabrielle Union. I know you got some more questions, Gabrielle Union. I know you do. But we gonna handle it when we get to the Grand Rising show because I'll be able for a while now. I know I've been missing a few days, so I'll be back at least on Monday, and after that I'll be back on the grind dealing with Brother No Sellout and what he's done to me. So y'all thank Brother No Sellout. I don't know where he is. I think he's hiding out because he knows that I was gonna get on him about him giving me this assignment that I can't shake right now. So again, Brother Thomas, I appreciate you hanging in there, Brother Bones. I know you're somewhere out there with your signal, so by the time you get back, you'll hear this. I appreciate y'all coming and actually uh, spending time with little old James Flames. You know, I get kind of emotional when it comes to stuff like that. I appreciate y'all. Like somebody say, I get it. I'm just getting in my feelings, man. I just feel, man. So now y'all know the lines have been drawn. We didn't draw them, but the lines were drawn in the sand between the scammers and the scam knots. And I'm glad to be a scam knot. So now you know. And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Until the grand rising, I bid you Guado.